So here's a new project we're working on today. We have 3 soft fold room and shades, 2 left and 1 right, and I started doing my math on the work order and kept changing my numbers until I was happy. So then I finally had to even cover it up with this note sheet right here with the final answer. And I'm super excited to see how these are going to turn out. And here is my little mock-up to show that my math is translating into what I'm picturing. So we took the scrap of this fabric, what we cut off of the width of fabric is this skinny piece here, the length of the cut, which was 157. We thought we might not get this much out of the bolt of fabric, but we were able to get 3 cuts of 157, which is nice because we had more to work with, which helped us get this pleated to pattern look. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 folds, and then this is the bottom skirt, I like to call that. And each of the folds is pleated to pattern. So basically the back side, I don't want to mess this up, but this is what the back side's going to look like. Each fold will create a pocket, and then that's where the twill tape will get stitched to, and then the rings. And then when it's pulled up, it's going to create this beautiful pattern where each fold has the same flower. And I just can't wait to see how it's going to look across the whole width of the fabric with all of the embroidered flowers following pattern. This is number 3 that we have tabled here. The table is 148 inches long, and so our cut at 157 slightly hangs off the table just a little bit, so we do the bulk of it on the table, and then we pull up this little piece and finish it there. So now we're at the stage where we're ready to turn it over and then actually draw the lines on the front. We haven't done that yet on this one, but we have on the 2 hanging on the rack, and this is upside down, but you can see here is 1 and here is 2 stitch lines, which will be our lines to follow so we know where to put the pockets. So once we're ready with number 3, we're going to take all of them and fold our pockets according to where these stitch lines are, and they are on the same flower at each line, and that's called pleating to pattern. So that's where we are now, and we'll show you the next step of drawing these lines on and then take it to the machine to stitch them. Okay, so before we draw the lines, what I did was mark the bottom of this flower and the bottom of the same flower over there. There's only 2 of those exact same flowers in a row. If there was more, I would mark a pin at each one, but since there's only 2, that's my mark there and there. And then I can line up a ruler and then check it for squareness with the L square to see if, once we draw the line, if it's square by checking the edge of the Roman shade where the side hem is. And it looks really nice and straight. So we're going to draw a line in pencil right on the face of this fabric, and that's where we're going to stitch. This is going to be basically a reference line so that after we stitch through this line, we can see it from the back on the lining side, and then we can make our pockets according to those lines. And it keeps all the fabric, all the layers together, and so they don't move around when we're working on it. And we're going to pin this line before we take it off the table to the machine. So we'll just keep drawing these lines and then pinning and then go to the machine. So we'll keep showing you the rest. Okay, we have our lines drawn for each pocket, and we have the pins placed along the line just to keep the layers together. And since this is black outlining that we have inside here, we don't want to pin too far away from the line, so we're just pinning right on the line to ensure that any pinholes will get trapped inside the pocket, which will not allow the sun to shine through those pinholes. So it's safe to pin along the line, and then we are strategically facing the pins in that direction on the first 4 rows, because those will be easiest to sew in the machine from this direction. And so we can take the pins out as we're sewing. And then on the last 3 rows, we have the pins going the opposite direction, because we'll turn it at the machine and fit this end under the machine. So some strategic pinning happening here, and now we're ready to take this Roman shade over to the walking foot to sew these lines. And the walking foot machine is the best, if you have one, to sew these lines without the fabric moving all around on you. Okay, so now we have the pocket lines stitched into place where we drew the line on the front with the pencil, and that is going to make the next step super easy, which is to fold over the fabric right on that stitch line. That is our mark telling us that's where each pocket needs to go. So now we simply pull down each row of stitching right here, and it's really easy to see where to press, and you want to get that stitch line folded right on the mark. So once you get it ready to press, that will just seal that fold into place, lock it into place, and then we are certain that each fold is going to be right where we want it to be, which is pleated to pattern. So each fold is going to be on the same flower. So we'll just pin it into place. So while we're at the machine, all the layers stay together. And I'm pinning in the direction that makes it the easiest to sew towards the point, and then you can take out the pin as you get closest to it. And we're going to do a 3/4 inch pocket, so I'm making sure that my pins are inside that 3/4 inch spacing. I don't want to pin up here, because then the pinholes will let the light through. But as long as they're within that 3/4 inch pocket, then no light will come through them. So there is another pocket ready to go. So that's 2 of them. So you can see I have that stitch line pressed perfectly on the edge of the pocket. And then the 3/4 inch stitch line will create the pocket, and then the rib will go inside the pocket, and that will hold the shape of the shade permanently. Okay, we're at the mounting phase on these hobbled Roman shades, and you want to start by making sure that you have your length set before you staple the last fold, which that's what this is. That's not important at this point to staple to the board yet, because you want to make sure you have the length set, which is done by getting each twill tape set at the right length. And even if you measure it and pin it on the board according to the plan, that doesn't mean that's what it's going to measure, because all of the weight of the whole shade and the twill tape will stretch slightly, which this is number 3 of 3. So I've already done the first 2, and the twill tapes where I had marked were about 1/4 of an inch long. So I moved them up a little bit on each one so far, and that was about 1/4 of an inch shorter than where I marked it. So that's about how much the whole thing stretched. So this time, instead of starting the twill tape where I marked it, I just went 1/4 of an inch higher, and I'm gonna check it right now to see if that is gonna be the perfect amount or if I should adjust it. So I don't want to staple anything until I check it with the tape measure. And so that's what we're gonna do right now. So here, get your measuring tape to the board. You'll also want to give the shade a little tug just to make sure all the stretches out. And look, there we're at 64 inches exactly, and that's what we need to be. So that 1/4 of an inch at the top was just the right amount. And I'm going to check it at each twill tape spot. So those 2 are good. Let's see how we are on the far left side. 64 inch. Perfect. And that means this one's probably good, but I'm going to check it anyway. Perfect. Wow. Love it when you get it right on the first try. So now I can take this down. What I have up here on the wall is a bunch of L brackets, shorter ones for getting this all situated, and then one longer one that will hold it there without me screwing this into place. This is just sitting here, and then I can do all my checking and stuff. So you can see I just have the tacks holding these twill tapes in place. Just long enough so I can check measure. And now I can take it down off the wall, bring it back to your mounting area, where over here I have this workroom valet, and then I can clamp it into place. Hold on, I need 2 hands and an elbow. Okay, so now I can staple these twill tapes down, and you can kind of see my pencil mark through there. That's where that pencil mark was for the 10-inch space from here to here, and I ended up moving it up about 1/4 of an inch, and it still measured 64 inch. So now I'm gonna staple, and now that I have the twill tape securely stapled in place, knowing that the shade measures the right length, now I can get the top fold pinned into place on the top, and then staple it, and then close up the lining on the top. Plus, I am going to add these side flaps. This one goes here. that'll hide the clutch from the side view since these are outside mount. So these will go on next, and then I'll put the last fold onto the board. Here we have our 3 Hobbled Roman shades totally finished and ready for install. Only thing I have to do is put the safety lock on this chain, but I want to show you one more time. On the wall, I'm gonna hang it and lower it and raise it and talk about how it ended up. Take another look at the finished Roman on the wall. And then I can wrap it up. And so in the video, we go through all the steps of tabling the Roman, hand stitching the side hems because it has blackout lining. So when the fabric is on the table and it's laying flat, you can't see the lines anymore that we drew because they're way up inside each fold right here. So the line that we drew on the fabric as our basting line is up inside this fold, and it ends up being right here. So you'll see that step of drawing the line, and that helps us keep the Roman shade square. And then we stitch over that line, and then we make the pockets, stitch the pockets, and then add the twill tape, and then the rings, and then mount it.